We're going to talk about the AppExchange for financial services, and we have two distinguished guests. First, by way of introduction, my name is Steve Mooney. I've been with Salesforce for almost 10 years, and this is my 9th Dreamforce. I've seen a lot of change. One of the things that really excites me about working for Salesforce is the way we've evolved to become a real platform company and to see not only the exciting innovation that we produce, but the exciting innovation that our partners produce on our platform to enhance the use of Salesforce for our customers. With me today is Angelo Pasquale, and Angelo's from Bank of New York Mellon, and I'm very excited that Angelo will be talking to you about his experience with one of our partners, Tier 1. Also is Sean Swanner from AIG. Sean will be talking to you about an experience using a product from one of our partners as well. And we are really excited to get started, so first I want to read to you this entire slide. Actually, I'm kidding. You've seen this. If you haven't seen it yet, you'll see a million of these this week. Our safe harbor slide, you see it on our public website. So the AppExchange, over 2,500 applications available for you, our customers, on the AppExchange. And I heard a stat today that I want to share with you. It's really exciting. In the last few years, the adoption of AppExchange applications has grown so that 71% of our customers have installed AppExchange apps. And over 24% of them have installed 5 or more apps. That just shows that the AppExchange is such an important and integral part of our customers' use of Salesforce.com to enhance their use of our platform in the cloud. Over 44,000 peer reviews. We rely on customers like you to come onto the AppExchange, explain your experience to your colleagues in the field so they can take your guidance. And of course, 300 mobile-ready applications on the Salesforce One mobile platform. That's an exciting stat for us as well. Across all major areas of the AppExchange, for every department, for sales and service, for every budget, there's free apps and there's paid apps that are supported. And then, of course, for industries, near and dear to my heart, at the top of the list is financial services. So that's really important as well, because Salesforce is a great horizontal platform, and we continue to invest in our vertical focus. But there are partners that we bring to the table who invest even deeper to bring even more industry-relevant applications to you and your particular industry. Of course, in every area, we bring partners to the table. We vet these partners, and these partners are building on the same cloud platform that you use and trust as a customer of Salesforce. That means they use the same fundamental objects, they use the same analytics, the same cloud redundancy and fault tolerance, so that you can trust that the application that you're using from a partner in the AppExchange is just as secure as an application you buy direct from Salesforce.com. What's more, when they build on a platform, they use what we call a managed package. They freeze their code. It's been security reviewed by Salesforce, so we make sure that your data is safe with our partner just as if it's safe with us. They freeze their code so that nobody can hack into it, and they deliver that to you in the marketplace. So that's especially important for the IT department to make sure that the applications you buy off the AppExchange are not just some hacked code. They're actually really secure, trusted code that Salesforce has verified. And we work with our partners to make sure that they can sell and service you, our customer, the same way we do, by bringing the same level of brand management, the ability to provision trials for the try before you buy experience. They're able to process orders off the AppExchange, and they're able to manage and push license upgrades to you. So those of you who have been a Salesforce customer for a while know about our weekend upgrades when we have our new winter 2014 upgrade. Our partners can do the very same thing using push upgrades to you. If you report to them, I want to see this feature or there's a bug, they're able to fix and provide upgrades the same way we can. So that's why the AppExchange community has grown so much in the last few years. Now, across the financial services area, we have a curated area that I want to point you to in AppExchange to search for financial services or use that left-hand navigation bar where you can see applications categorized specifically for financial services, including categories like banking, wealth management, cap markets, insurance, and compliance. And today you'll be hearing about 3 partner applications: TD Ameritrade's VEO application in wealth management, Tier 1's application in cap markets, and of course SMARSH for compliance from AIG. Now, I want to break this into 2 parts. First part is making small companies bigger The second part is making big companies better. I'll take the small company part really quickly and just tell you a really fun story of a small wealth advisory firm called Retirement Asset Management with 11 users that was able to use TD Ameritrade's VEO application. TD's their custodian. They're able to grow assets under management by 39% using TD Ameritrade's application with 100% asset growth and 97% client retention. They did all of this without hiring any additional staff. Those are amazing stats for using applications that are integrated off the AppExchange. Those applications included TD Ameritrade's VEO solution, but if you can see along the bottom, TD brings together all of these other applications working interchangeably: DocuSign, LaserApp, Morningstar, iRebound, MoneyGuide Pro. They're able to bring all these applications working together for their customer. Now, the stars of the show are the people you see up here. So I want to start with Angelo, who from BNY Mellon is going to talk about the success he had with Tier 1. Angelo?
Thank you, Steve, and thanks to all of you for coming down and listening to our story today.
Left hand.
Thank you. Make sure you read that. The legal department for my company asked me to send that message to you. BNY Mellon is a, if I can get this going here. There, we'll just use this. BNY Mellon, we like to call ourselves the investment company for the world. And the reason we can make that statement is we have over $28 trillion worth of assets that we're the custodial bank for. That represents 1/5 of the world's assets. We manage the entire investment life cycle. And the group that I work for within that larger organization is global markets and capital markets. And we're focused on foreign exchange, equities, fixed income, and derivative products. But the difference between our group and the rest of the organization is we're on the transaction and sell side, whereas the balance of the organization is on the buy side as a custodial bank. It wouldn't be a challenge if we were in different orgs, but we wanted to have a single org in Salesforce. And I'll tell you a little bit about some of the challenges that presented and how our AppExchange partner helped us to overcome those. Like most companies, we had pretty lofty goals for CRM. Yes, we want stronger customer relationships, and we want to drive revenue growth and introduce those sales efficiencies. But we had some unique challenges, specifically because we're in financial services and because we are who we are in terms of being a systemically important bank. We're highly regulated. We have a mindset that, again, is more focused on more of a mandate style or buy side. So we had to come up with a solution that allowed us to meet our goals if we were to truly have a sales transformation happen. So on its own, as you probably have heard in some of these talks today, that we all vote by what we do. Our group just decided to do its own little splintered CRM solutions. There's a bunch of standalone solutions ranging from someone's private Outlook list to a spreadsheet, to a database they might have done on MS Access or even Lotus Notes. There was no continuous single CRM solution for the company. So because of that, we had, I would say, an anti-CRM sentiment within our group that we had to overcome. So as I mentioned, we've got a couple of obstacles. We used Oracle Siebel for about 10 years, and our group, Global Markets, never really adopted that solution. There's a couple of reasons for that. One, it was hard to use. It was not easy to use, and it's no fault of the implementation. We tried very, very hard to implement that solution for Global Markets, but it didn't work. The second reason was it was more modeled off a business that was less transactional. We have wins and losses in minutes and hours versus months or weeks. And so what we did is we underwent a study to understand what is our maturity level. And not to our surprise, we weren't terribly mature. Yellow means that we're at a level 0 in those areas. So we knew we had to make a change. We knew we had to do something different. On top of that, as I mentioned, because we're a highly regulated business, we had some security and compliance hurdles to overcome. There's the challenge of multiple legal entities within the organization. Even in our small group, we have 3 or 4 different legal entities that really have limited ability to share information, but we still wanted to have cross-sell. We still wanted to share leads, share relationship activities, and share opportunities and have a combined pipeline, but we had to be cognizant of how to do that and how to manage all those things. So we needed an additional kind of layer of security on top of even the organization security. Thank you. You see I'm a little challenged there. So what did we do? We could have developed a solution on our own. But instead, we went out to the AppExchange marketplace, and we were very pleased to find several providers out there. We put together our set of requirements and found 5 of them. We narrowed it down and chose Tier 1 ACE from a company called Tier 1 CRM. And the reason that we chose them, the number one reason we chose them, is because they met our business solution, our requirements. If you're not meeting business requirements, why are you doing it? It doesn't make sense. And it made a lot of sense to us, and Tier 1 solution made a lot of sense. The second reason is because it was 100% Salesforce based. It was not a solution that's, oh, by the way, we also play with Salesforce. That's not really what we were looking for. We wanted to be part of that bigger organization, but still have the functionality we needed. And one of the challenges we had was our internal risk review. So one of the things that won the day, or a couple of things Steve already mentioned. The fact that all of the security, all of the backup, the archiving, the audit trails come with, if you will, Salesforce. The second thing is the managed package. Managed package really made it easy for us, easier, I won't say easy, easier for us to convince our security folks that that was a solution for us. Then the last piece, extremely important, the solution's highly configurable. And that gave everyone a lot of comfort, because if we had 6 months, 12 months, even 1 month IT cycle time to make changes, wasn't meeting our needs. Thank you. So what does it bring to us, this solution? 2 things, speed and power. It presents a user interface that gives our sales and trader folks who have what I call sub-second attention span. They cannot do anything if it's more than 1 or 2 clicks. They won't do it. And in a way, I don't blame them. If you look at their world and you understand what they do every day, those extra clicks really make a difference. The second thing is it gave us, from a single vantage point, multi-dimensional view of that relationship. So instead of clicking a lot of tabs, in one screen, I have a set of cubes that I can flip around and see every aspect of that customer and our relationship with that customer. And that's huge in our business. The third thing is it gives us the ability to create on-the-fly selling campaigns that we can distribute across the organization. So again, without IT involvement or building views that you have to share, we can quickly and easily, if someone has an idea on the trading desk at 8 a.m., by 9 a.m., everyone has it on their desk. Everyone's out there selling that idea. So that's the kind of world that we're looking for. What, like we like to say, was like Salesforce on steroids, at least for us. So what was the impact of all this? I guess my mic started working now. But anyway, we went from almost 0 adoption to over 74% when measured within our sales, trading, and relationship management folks. That's huge. Remember, we went from an anti-CRM mentality to one where almost 75% of the folks use it every day. And I think that was a big deal. So that helped us to transform our sales organization, and it's still in transformation. And because of that, we're winning more business and opening more accounts. Let me move on to the next one. So one of the things we looked at is, how do we transform it? And the scale on the bottom of this chart is your customer sentiment, if you will. All the way from, we've got a horrible relationship with them, maybe there's some history there, to it's a very strong relationship. They give us either all their business or almost all their business, and then a spectrum in between. On the top is the adoption of CRM. Again, on the negative side, you've got the vocal protesters, the skeptics. On the positive side, you've got the evangelists and the champions. The secret to this, I believe, is if you can get the evangelists and the champions, who are also extremely good at selling, you won't have to send the message out at all, because everyone wants to emulate a winning performer. And if they see those behaviors in that person, sure, in addition to a top-down support for CRM implementation, that is really the driver. So quantify those relationships, put a plan together for those that are weak, and then execute on that plan. And that will help you to close the gap, I believe. So where are we going to go next with this whole implementation? We want to now widen the scope of our CRM. We want to include actual revenues, trading data, trading history, client service records, marketing and outreach records. We use other solutions that are integrated with Salesforce, and we want to pull all those together for the sales and trading person, the person who's on the street with the client, to have that information. And one of the ways we're doing that is with through advanced analytics and dashboards. We're developing some of our own, so we're very, very interested in seeing those patterns of buying behavior. Why do we win? Why do we lose? When do we win? When do we lose? Where does it make sense to go? Where does it make sense to stay away? And then finally, mobile deployment, but not just in the sense of, okay, now the same thing's on mobile. And I think you've seen this in some of the sessions and probably lived it in your companies. It's got to do more than just replacing the same thing that you have on your laptop or in the office. So how are we better from all this? Well, I think that, a year ago I sat in a room like this and wondered, how are we going to do this? I knew we had Salesforce installed, but it's this big org that is not customized to our solution, to our needs. We did not have a customized solution. We're able to find that through the implementation of Tier 1 ACE and the Tier 1 CRM application. That allows us to do some very important things. It increased the communication flow within our organization. A lot of our business comes from cross-selling within the larger organization. But even within global markets, capital markets, we never had a multi-asset class discussion. The mortgage-backed securities guys would have their own sales meeting. The equities guys would have their meeting. Nobody ever said, hey, wait a minute, there's a crossover here. Let's focus on insurance companies and look at the overlaps that's happening now. And it's giving us new business, and it's opening doors for us. And also, we changed the direction of the lead flow. Because we are part of that larger organization, a lot of our leads came into us. Well, we're now reaching out because we have visibility. So we're not done yet. We still have some cultural changes to overcome, but the keys to that are regular executive management reviews, talking about specific opportunities, and it's changing the conversation. Instead of that closed office, single meeting environment, it's a broader discussion that talks about expected close dates, probability of close, what do you think this is worth, what other products can we sell? Completely different relationship with our clients, and that's our focus. And all of this was made possible because of the AppExchange, our partner on the AppExchange and the Salesforce platform. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thanks so much, Angelo. You're going to have a chance to ask questions of him at the end, and of Sean. I wanted to actually introduce another case study of making big companies better.
When we first reviewed the chatter features on Salesforce, from a technology perspective, we wanted to turn it on immediately. However, when we reviewed with compliance the opportunity to enable that for all of our advisors, we were told that before we could enable it, we had to address their needs, specifically the archiving needs. But there was really only one company that came to us and said, we have a solution.
This is more of a collaborative experience, and it's not only a collaborative experience with the broker-dealer that you're associated with. We're able to expand that now to a broad array of 4 new broker-dealers that are out there, with a quantity of up to 6,000 plus advisors that are out there with 156 billion in assets. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. We did a lot of due diligence and a lot of partnering with Smarsh. We think they had it right.
Smarsh had a really strong presence in the financial services industry. They knew our needs, they knew our business model, they understood the needs of our compliance team and the needs of our advisors, and they were able to craft a really good solution for us.
Thanks for that, Smarsh. And I want to introduce Sean Swanerope to talk about his experience using an AppExchange partner with AIG. Sean?
Great, thank you, Steve. At AIG, we're the world's largest insurer, and we have operations in over 130 countries around the world. I'm an enterprise architect with our life and retirement division, which is primarily focused on serving the needs of about 18 million domestic United States, US-based customers. And in this part of AIG, among our focuses is a very strong focus on customer relationship management, and in particular, and what I want to highlight today is how we've used Salesforce to help meet some of those needs and focus. In particular, and was by a little bit of more of background, AIG and Salesforce have been partners for just over 7 years. And over the course of that time, we've introduced 34 different production orgs into service across AIG. A number of them for US-based units, but also a number of them globally as well. And in particular today, what I'd like to focus on is a case study that came out of one of those 34 orgs, and that is with a business division called AIG Advisor Group. AIG Advisor Group is a set of 4 broker-dealers, and we have approximately 6,000, a little over 6,000 independent financial advisors who we service. Several years ago, we realized that the best way that we could help our financial advisors meet the needs of their clients was to give them a common unified CRM system that allowed us to interface with them for back office operations, as well as have a tool that they could use to manage their own client relationships. And as any of you who are in the independent financial services space know, it's very competitive, and one of the key differentiators is the technical services and the technology that you can provide these financial advisors. So we started down this path, and I, by background, am a coder, and a lot of what I'm going to focus on today are the differences that go into the buy versus build decision-making process, and how the AppExchange allows you to amplify the benefits of the buy side of that equation. But on this advisory group board, we started work in 2011. We coded heavily. We built a lot of custom functionality for our advisors. Next slide, please. And the result was, as we started to become more and more familiar with Salesforce, we'd come to Dreamforce and we'd attend technical sessions where we were taught this mantra of a successful Salesforce deployment is 80% configuration and only 20% code. And what we realized is that as we had taken our developer mindset into the Salesforce platform, we had inverted that ratio. And so we were pushing up against the very limits of the code customization limits in the Salesforce platform. We had over 80 different custom objects. We had Apex classes that were to the point of affecting performance, and we realized that as we started to move forward with our adoption and our rollout of Salesforce, that we had to approach this in a different way. And in addition, some of the ways that this challenged us is even any small feature that we would release, we had to go through a rigorous regression testing process, and it made it just very complicated to roll things out. Everything became an enterprise project, and if you work for a large company, you know the pace at which an enterprise project will roll out. So when we came to our next need, this was, as we rolled out Salesforce, we realized that Chatter was the key kind of hidden gem in our early adoption of Salesforce. And through Chatter, we realized there's an opportunity for collaboration. There's an opportunity for feedback to the home office. There's opportunities for our financial advisors who may work in their own independent branches to collaborate with each other and to share information and knowledge. And so we were gung-ho about, let's take Chatter, let's push it out there, let's release this as soon as possible. And as the video highlighted, we quickly ran into our compliance officer who said, well, hold on a second, this is not going to work out well, because Chatter is the same thing as an email that was sent out, or the same thing as a social media post. And so all these regulatory and compliance requirements then came into effect. So again, being coders that we are, and we said, well, great, let's go look at our regulatory archives and repositories for this information. And we seized upon the easiest one that would be to interface with would be our email archive. And so we said, great, let's take our email archiving system and we'll monitor the Chatter API, and anytime someone posts something to Chatter, we'll grab that and we'll email it to the email archive. Everyone will be happy. And if you think about it, at face value, that seems like it should work, but we ran into a couple of things. And if you think about what you can do on Chatter versus what you can do on email, you start to see the differences between the data models and the objects. And we realized a couple of things. Our compliance officers who were tasked with reviewing this, when they had a Chatter post that may have had a reply days or weeks after the original post, they had a really hard time understanding the context of what was the new part of the message. In addition, a typical email attachment or an email system will block attachments at maybe 5 or 10 megabytes. And when someone uploads that 100 megabyte client list file or something, it completely choked our system. And so this homegrown solution that we had built, that we thought would be just such an easy slam dunk and kind of in line with our buy versus build, kind of mistakes at that point, we realized this isn't the way to go. We cannot do this. And so we already had an existing business relationship with Smarsh, and we posed the problem to them, and they already had a solution that they were in the process of building. And so we were able to take the Smarsh solution, which is the archiving and compliance for Salesforce Chatter, and we're able to take that, and this solved many of our problems. Initially, the very first problem that it solved is allowed us to get on the right footing with our compliance and regulatory requirements. Second, because it was an AppExchange product, we were able to quickly plug it right into into Salesforce and begin testing immediately. And this was one of our biggest wins, because the Smarsh solution, because you go to the AppExchange, you get it, you hit the install button. We installed it into some of our non-production environments, and we immediately began to see it was picking up real-time chatter posts. Any of the file size attachments, we tested it out by uploading a 1.5 gigabyte file to Chatter, just the same text file message over and over again. This huge file loaded into Chatter. We thought, oh, the Smarsh engine it's gonna blow up when it gets this thing, and it just chewed up and sent it off to their archive, no problem at all. And by doing this, we were able to say, look, here's a clear win for us. Something that we had taken, a compliance problem, which is very serious for us to get right, and we had said, let's build this, and we had tried to build it, and for many reasons, like another one being that the FINRA regulations that were governing this archiving stipulated that we can't self-archive these messages. We had to engage a third party to do so. So here we had Smarsh, who had the infrastructure and the capabilities to do that, and if we had just gone out to any of our enterprise partners and asked them to build this, think about what it would have been from a deployment perspective. We would have been taking their custom Apex and Visualforce code, and it would have compounded the problem that we had in our development environment to begin with, as far as their code utilization and our custom objects. But because it was an AppExchange product, we were able to quickly install it, test it, and roll it out. And it's been in production from then until today. Our compliance people love it. It meets all of our regulatory needs, and it's been, from a development, from a business, and from a compliance perspective, a win across the board. Next slide. Now, from a future direction, if Steve has us back next year, we'll have even more good stories to tell. We're in the process of taking a number of other AppExchange products and considering how we can benefit from them. And so we're in the process right now with this one Salesforce org, looking at workflow, looking at other compliance tools, looking at plugins from the AppExchange that will improve our user experience. And what we've learned through the process is that the AppExchange is really the first place that we look for any kind of a solution. Even if it's from an existing partner like Smarsh was for us, we go first to our partners and say, if you have an AppExchange application, for us to take and adopt that overcomes many of the deployment, testing, rollout, and licensing hurdles that we would have if we just went out and said, log into our development environment and start coding. And so that's the message that I want to leave with you today, that in many cases when we're buying enterprise software or integrating enterprise software, you have that buy versus build rationalization to go through. And that if you consider how easy the AppExchange makes it to adopt software into your org, it really makes it hard to justify building your own solution. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Sean. That's great. And we've left you 10 minutes for questions. I hope you get your questions teed up. We have a mic in the back. I'm going to tee it up with you, Sean, since you were just on stage. Thanks for sharing that story. I heard tidbits that you used to be a culture of 80% code in-house, 20% buy, and then you kind of inverted that. Can you describe who you had to win internally and how you had to go about that process to see the light of that there actually are solutions out there that could solve this problem for us?
Well, one of the first things that we had to do is we had to convince our business and our compliance that an AppExchange product would be safe and secure to deploy. So their first concern was the equivalent of, you just found something in the App Store and downloaded it. I've seen what my kid does with games on the phone. I can't, and you have to convince them first that it's not the same. The Apple App Store and the Salesforce AppExchange are two different things, and by taking something out of the AppExchange, there's already that robustness, and Salesforce stands behind what they've allowed to be published in there. And I think that was the first step for us. And then the second was, in this case, it was very simple because the in-house solution that we had homegrown was simply not working, and the Smart solution was a ready-to-roll solution, and so that made it very easy to roll out.
Thank you. I see there's a question in the back already. Gotcha.
You can probably hear it if I yell loud.
Yeah, I'll repeat the question. Go ahead.
So you've implemented it. How much of your ongoing maintenance and management is done by a third party, and how much have you brought in-house for both of you?
How much ongoing maintenance is done in-house, and how much is done by a third party?
Well, that's probably one of the other hidden values of this is, so in our solution with Smart, think about the pace at which Salesforce is evolving the Chatter platform. You know, they introduced polls and other features of this. We really tell Smart, that's your problem to stay current with Salesforce's API change. So for us, we know that from time to time we have to install an update, but that's about where our involvement ends. And so we look to the vendor to make sure that their product continues to work and to let us know when we need to install and test an update. It's as simple as that.
From our perspective, we're sort of blessed because we have the support and maintenance from the vendor, but we really manage it in-house. But anytime we need that next level of expertise, they're instantly there. So it's almost like we have an extension of our own support with Tier 1 CRM. So for us, it really works out well.
So did you bring that day-to-day management in-house? You're administrating the platform now?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Question right here.
Hi, Ganesh Rao with Western Union. First of all, thank you. How do you at the beginning you determine a roadmap, and some of it, as you said, you determine whether you're going to custom build or you're going to go to the AppExchange. How do you determine your spend related to what you're going to do, and how many apps you're going to deploy, or whether you're going to develop? What's your process that you go through to make that decision?
How do you determine your spend with
relative to your roadmap?
Relative to your roadmap with bringing on apps.
The business requirements, and you have some technology, and then you have the technology. So.
It's a difficult question to answer because it depends on the specific solution. So what we did in the case study that I referred to, we took our development time for what it would cost. I had my developers spec out the entire process of building a complete end-to-end solution, and then we compared that post-negotiation number to the vendor. And so for us, it was pretty clear. The thing to keep in mind, our org, we had 6,000 plus independent financial advisors licensed to use it, but we knew that not all of them used Chatter. And so we knew that we were going to be procuring licenses that in some cases would go unused by our users. And that's something to keep in mind in the AppExchange, is that you typically, when you're paying for the AppExchange software, you're paying for it based upon the total number of licenses open in your org, regardless of whether all of your users tend to do that. And then for us, that was a little bit of a hurdle that we had to overcome in our mindset towards the pricing.
From our perspective, the first thing we do is obviously align it with our strategic goals. And in our group, we really wanted to drive that revenue. That was a major factor. But then there's a whole governance body that's built up around CRM implementation at BNY Mellon, and we relied on that organization. So anything that we came up with, we introduced it in that governance process. Because you're right, you have to look at the cost. And unless you look at that up front, you're really fooling yourselves. There's a lot of great tools out on AppExchange, but you may or may not be able to recognize the value of that unless it's vetted across many groups.
Question back here?
Yes, actually I have two questions for Angelo, one for you, Steve. Thank you all for sharing. Angelo, my question for you is you mentioned advanced analytics. Are you currently using anything from the AppExchange for that?
Not yet. I mean, we're just using Tableau and business objects, kind of run-of-the-mill solutions to come up with that. Ideally, we don't want to do that because we don't want to be in the business of developing analytical tools. But since we're looking for very, very specific dashboards and very specific information, we felt that was the best way for us to go right now.
Question was around analytics. Any other question?
And my question for you, Steve, is around, you mentioned at the beginning, how you manage, Salesforce manages the applications so that we can very easily integrate those things with Has Salesforce thought, are they talking anymore about how to make it easier, especially for financial services companies, to go into the AppExchange and basically accept, without having to go through the huge contract process to be able to utilize these apps off of the AppExchange, especially the free ones? Those are the ones that can be really challenging from a contract perspective, because typically you're just going in and you're saying, I accept these rules, but from a legal or compliance perspective, you can't do that.
So the question was around Salesforce thought about how we could make it easier for customers to accept the terms with apps off the AppExchange, especially with the free ones. And in each of these circumstances, when a partner produces an application, it's important to note that it is a third party. It's not Salesforce.com producing it. So we rely on the customer and that partner negotiating terms. So that Salesforce has certain pass-through terms that we require because it is our cloud that this partner is using. And then the partner has their own terms that they will negotiate with the customer. I have to defer and say that particular point is going to be between you and the solution vendor. In terms of the free applications in the AppExchange, it's probably a case-by-case basis. Some of them are an app that kind of tease and get you started, so you can come in and use more features. Some of them are things Salesforce Labs may have produced that Salesforce wants to produce out there as an example of what is possible and allow you to then build upon that. But because they're free and because they're kind of I wouldn't say low grade in terms of functionality available, Salesforce chooses to step back and not support those applications. So in some ways, we kind of have to step back and say, this is on you to decide how much of this you want to consume. And if it's a full-fledged application, we will direct you to a vendor who's going to be behind that, supporting it. But I'm available up here to talk more if you have specific examples. Angela, while you're here standing up next to me, you mentioned that you came from a culture that was very anti-CRM.
Right.
And there was nobody. You had very low user adoption of your previous vendor solution. User adoption is one of the really important benchmarks to make sure that the effort you put forth is actually successful and worth your time. How did you measure user adoption for your rollout?
Steve, we measure in a couple ways. One is simply logging on to the system. That at least shows we're not wasting that license. But the other is, what activities are you logging on the systems? Your interactions with the clients. How many opportunities are you putting in the pipeline? How many are you statusing? How many are you closing? So we monitor all these factors, or all these kind of metrics, to give us some sense of what true adoption is. It's more than just signing on. It's actually utilizing the system to build the relationships by entering that relationship into the system.
And how often were you checking that? Were you using dashboards?
Yeah, we have a dashboard. And actually, interestingly enough, a lot of our sales management folks are sort of competing with those dashboards because they like to say, well, we're at 100% and someone else is maybe at 70%. So they check them routinely, typically once a week.
Mm-hmm. Once a week. Yeah. And it sounds like a little friendly competition going there.
Yeah,
as well.
It has been.
That sounds like a best practice to me. Excellent. Any questions? Yes, right here.
Angela, question for you. One of the challenges that you mentioned earlier on was the APAC country privacy requirements.
Yes.
How did you overcome those issues?
Well, there's a couple of issues that we had with opt-in consent from some clients and others where it's opt-out. They would tell you, please don't put our information on a cloud-based solution. So what we've done is have pop-ups that when you enter either a new account in a certain country, it says, have you gotten the consent? Like anything, it's more of a deterrent. It can't prevent. It's just like MNPI. You're not supposed to put the guy's kids' ages on there, but you can't really stop them, but we do audit it, and we do make sure we message properly. So it's more of a proactive on the case of the user.
Thank you. I'm going to turn it down at this time because there's another group that's going to be waiting to come in for a session. We're going to be available up front for any more questions. Thank you very much for finding us down here. And have a great Dreamforce, everyone.